I just been up here running my mouth and I've been on mute this whole time. This is ridiculous. I'm gonna have to start all over again. Welcome everyone to Planner's Knowledge Pop-Up Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Kathleen Walls. I am the author of The Adventures of Froggy T and Bunny. Here go my babies here. I also have two other books, Live by the Spirit and The Greatest Soul Journey. If you are new to the Planner's Knowledge Pop-Up Podcast, I call it the Pop-Up Podcast because it really depends on when the authors are available to join us. And the whole purpose of Planner's Knowledge, which is my publishing company, is to help people grow and to learn. I believe that there's so much information in books, and books are just wonderful pastimes, whether they are in print, ebook, or even digital audio books. Planner's Knowledge, we interview authors, we learn about their author's journey, we also learn about the different genres. Now, I'm here to tell you today is not for the young at heart, mind, body, spirit. This is for the grown, and I'll leave it in the grown. All right. So, any of my young people, if you are, I'm going to say below 18, I need you to step aside right now so that the adults can come into the room. And if they give you permission to listen later, you can go on ahead and listen. But this one right here for the grown folks. So I am going to bring our author of the hour in. As always, make sure you have your pens and your papers ready because you never know what gems are going to be dropped. So let's give a good tambourine welcome to our author today, Eskay Kabba. Welcome, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm so excited to be here.
We are excited to have you here. We have some people in the chat already who are saying hello and welcome.
Awesome.
They are excited to meet you. So let's tell the people a little bit about, first of all, I see this flag in the background. What's up with the flag? What we got going on?
So interestingly, this is not normally where I do my podcast. I'm usually sitting at the couch, but I don't want the cats to like walk across my screen. So I'm sitting in a different area. But the flag behind me is a Sierra Leone flag. My parents were born in Sierra Leone. So I am a first generation born American African that's the way I like to say it.
Okay.
And so I thought, what better place than to sit right here and have, my ancestors come and just, surround me right now.
Yes.
And that's partly, my name. As you can see, it's Eskay. So Eskay is literally my initials, my first and my middle name. And then Kabba is a very common last name in Sierra Leone. And so my pen name is just really just a depiction of just who I am as a person.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, we welcome everyone who is joining you today. We are here and we are excited that they are here with us as well. I'm a legacy person as well. My ancestors are always with me. Whenever my husband and I do a show, he always greets everyone in the name of God and the ancestors. So I'm excited about today's show. I love the fact the African piece. I didn't even get a chance to tell you. I had an opportunity to teach 2 months in Ghana in 2019.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes. So that was fantastic. So that was my first time going home to the motherland, but definitely not the last time. And Sierra Leone is one of those places on the list.
That is something I think that every African American should do at least one time, just step foot on the motherland. And you will just, the first time I went, I was 25 and I went with my mom for the first time. And just being there and just seeing all these people as dark as me. And it was just a wonderful experience. And most people don't know, but I met my husband there.
Oh, you can look. You can bring the tea. I got my cup. Come on.
Yeah. I met my husband there. So I have a real love of just the continent in general. And I'm just a big advocate of just like African Americans just going to I don't care where you go. I don't care if you just step foot in Morocco. Like, I don't care where you go, but just step foot on the land, and just know like this is where we come from. So
yes, so important, so important. All right, so we are jumping right in. We're getting to know a little bit about you, but this is core, right? This is what brings you forward to who you are today. So
definitely.
now I met you at the Collingswood Book Festival back in the beginning of October. And let's tell the people about your author's journey. When did you know you even wanted to be an author?
Oh, gosh. When did I know? So, I'm one of those people that's been writing pretty much my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since I was a kid, I used to,
Mm-hmm.
write short stories. My father is a teacher. He was a teacher. He's retired now, but was an educator for over 30 years.
Okay.
I used to write these little like short stories, and like give them to him. And I don't know. He probably has them somewhere at this point. I don't know. But I've always been a writer of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's the other thing that most people don't know, that I am a social worker by trade. I have a
Okay.
master's and a bachelor's, and a license in 3 states. And
Fantastic.
on the road to becoming a life skills coach. So all of those pieces just
Mm-hmm.
has me become a natural writer in general and a
Yes.
natural orator. So,
Yes.
um, so how did I get from there to here? Just kind of takes over in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
I've just been focused on my career and my family and just like other things. And, honestly, it was before the pandemic. It was like a couple of years before the pandemic. I just started putting pen to paper again. And
Mm-hmm.
before I got a laptop. So I have
Mm-hmm.
like spiral notebooks of just
Mm-hmm.
my handwritings of these
Mm-hmm.
things I used to write. And because they were more of a, we just gonna say steamy nature.
Okay,
uh,
Steamy. The other night, Lee described hers as smutty. So
Oh,
we're
well,
like,
I didn't want to say smutty. I can say smutty. I was trying to be cute. I'm trying to be PG for you people, but that's what it is. Um, but because I write more in the steamy genre, I had to essentially find my people, right? Because when you write
mm-hmm.
in a particular genre, it doesn't mean everybody's going to receive it, regardless of what
Yep.
it is. And so you
Yep.
have to like, find your niche. You have to find your people. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was already on a site called Erotica.com, and I would be there all the time. I would be reading other people's stories and supporting other authors that were there. And then I decided to hashtag the um, and then I just kind of jumped in there and said, you know what, I'm just gonna throw a story up here and see how it's received.
Mm. And
Uh,
this was called Literotica.
Erotica.com. It's
All
still
right, y'all. Okay, for the
and I'm
steamy,
still
for the
there.
steamy
I'm
and the
still writing
smutty.
there too.
Okay, okay. Let me get that
Um,
down. I got my notepad. Let me get
yes, get your notes
Literotica.
out. I'm gonna be throwing
Okay,
so many different like things at y'all. And so
okay.
I threw a first story up there and it was well received. And I said, okay, well,
Mm-hmm.
let me write the story that I've been writing for I had like 3 or 4 spiral notebooks of this one story called Bittersweet Irish Cream. And I threw that story up there and I mean, it just like exploded. Like everybody loves this story. And I was just like, oh
Really?
my gosh. And then from there, I just kind of kept going. I kept writing, you know, stories on Literotica, some just kind of one-off short stories, but then series of
Mm-hmm.
stories. And my I started just kind of meeting other writers and other authors, and one of them introduced me to a publishing company called Four Horsemen Publications. Write that down too. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Four Horsemen, shout out to them because they gave me a chance and said, "Okay, publish your book with us." And so
Hmm.
that is when I published my first book. Here's my
Let's
first.
see. Let's see your baby. Where's your first one?
My first book, Hidden Love.
Woo!
That's why I said
Okay.
kids can't be here, not with these men on these covers. I published my first book with them, Hidden Love, in the beginning of it was published January of 2021, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just been just a hit. everywhere I go, like people are
Mm.
like, if they don't love the cover, right?
Yes.
Because that
Yes.
alone drives
Let,
them.
let's see that cover again. I think
Okay,
I've
listen,
forgotten what
I
it
have
looks
a
like.
whole poster board. That's where I usually sit. I got this and a whole big poster behind me. And I said, maybe I won't give them all of this right away. Maybe I'll ease them into this just a little bit.
We're gonna have planners knowledge after dark. We're gonna come back
that's,
to
that's what
that.
I have next, right? Because the main character is a spinoff of the story from Bittersweet Irish Cream. And
Mhm.
so I published that, and it was just, I mean, people just received it in so many different ways, and they just loved it.
Mhm.
If you didn't love the cover itself, if you were looking for something smutty, it's in there. I mean, you know, I'm one of the people, I don't fade to black. If y'all know what that
Mhm.
means, I do not.
Mhm.
If there's a scene, we're going all in that scene.
Okay.
But it's also just a real story about, you know, just a man just trying to find himself, you know, in
Mhm.
this world.
Mhm.
Yes, it's still, you know, it's 2023 at this point, but, you know, there are still people just trying to find their way out of some just not so great circumstances.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and then fall in love in the middle of all that. And so
Mhm.
this hidden love is really Connor's journey.
Mhm.
I just want to say shout out to the Marine Corps. I heard it's the Marine Corps birthday today.
Okay. Shout out to them. Yes. Yes.
Because Connor McIntyre, who is the main character, is a U.S. Marine as well. So I
Oh,
had to do a lot of research
interesting.
on that as well.
Okay.
So yeah, so then that just kind of took off. It's a 5-book series, and then from
Hmm.
there, I said, you know, some of the stories that I had on Literotica, let me make them into real stories.
Flush them out.
Let me flesh them out, proofread
Mhm.
them, throw them out there, and see what happens. And so
Mhm.
that's how A Love for Micah came about, and then from A Love for Micah came Jerry's Heart. So
So I love this, and I hope people are really catching that it started out just as you mentioned early in life with short stories, right? Following that desire inside of you.
mhm,
And then as you got older, you then created another set of short stories, which you put on Literotica,
mhm,
and that it then expanded. So some people, as they're writing, the question is, well, I don't fully have it, or I just have this part. What should I do? And what I'm
mhm.
hearing you say is, that's something. Like, start
It's something.
there.
Start
Go
there.
ahead.
Put it out there. You know, one of the things that, you know, again, Literotica is geared towards Steamy, but there are other websites. There's Wattpad, there's Inkit. I mean, there's so many other websites that you can
Mhm.
just kind of test the waters in and just put your stuff out there and see how the public receives it. And just know
Mhm.
that not everybody is going to love your stuff, and that is okay. You
That is
know,
so important.
that's okay. You know,
Yeah.
everybody doesn't need to love your stuff, but for the
Yeah.
people that do, and
Mhm.
that see your work and spread your work around and really
Mhm.
celebrate you as a writer and an author. I mean,
Mhm.
that means everything. So
Yeah.
do it.
It's so interesting. It was in 2005, 2005, 2006 when 2006 it was. And someone said to me, "When are you going to write your book?" And I had
Mhm,
never considered writing a book at this point. I did my dissertation. I was one and done. That was fine, right?
mhm,
And he said, "When are you going to realize there's an audience just for you?"
mhm,
I mean, you talk about a seed that was planted. That
mhm,
question never left my mind. It
mhm.
wasn't until 3 years later that I wrote my first book. I wasn't expecting to write the book. I woke up that day and it was a clear message that it's time to write. And
That's
I
right.
opened up my laptop and it was just an outpouring
Mhm,
that came. And in that book, then in the midst of organizing everything, came the first book, The Greatest Soul Journey,
mhm. Oh, I
right?
love that.
Now, there were a whole bunch of other books too that were written in that outpouring, but it was still with that message in mind and that knowing that there's an audience just for me.
There is.
This workbook style journal is not going to appeal to everyone. Of course,
Mhm,
I think it should, but
mhm.
that's just my own author opinion,
Right.
right? but there's a group of people who that style resonates with.
Mhm.
Same with you. The genre. When you wrote those first short stories and you got that following, did you feel like something had opened up inside of you and
Oh,
you're like, this is my pathway?
absolutely. Because you know, these stories are, they are gay men. Obviously, I'm not a gay man, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so for me, being able to put those stories out there and hearing from people that, hearing from gay men or women or just people in general that said, wow, this
Mm-hmm.
story resonated with me,
Mm-hmm.
to me, it was about like, it's so important that my story is not just a bunch of tropes and just a bunch of,
Mm-hmm.
stereotypical, ideas about what you think, men are in general, or gay men or black men in general,
Mm-hmm.
but it's these are like real life situations that happens to people in
Mm-hmm.
general.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that people were able to kind of pull, things that were happening and say, wow, like I resonated with that. Like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
wow, that's me. Like I used
Mm-hmm.
to do like that. I mean, that to me
Exactly.
was so important. And so, we talk about, having beta readers and sensitivity readers. And for me, being able to put stories out there for free, being able to,
Mm-hmm.
read and give me feedback on and say,
Mm-hmm.
this is realistic. Oh, this may not be a little too realistic. That helps
Mhm, mhm,
grow as a writer, which is why I also say not everyone's going to like your work. And sometimes some of that negative feedback you can use to kind of fuel, and better your work. And that's what
mhm,
I've done. I feel like I've been writing on Erotica since, maybe 2019. And,
mhm,
I felt like the audience made me a better writer,
wow,
in the way that they commented on my stories and told me what was great and told me what wasn't so great and things like that.
okay,
Um,
mhm,
Again, just kind of saying to other people, like, if you have a story to tell, just put it out there and
mhm.
the world receives it.
You mentioned 2 terms that I think is important for people to understand. You mentioned the term beta reader and sensitivity reader. Can you explain to the audience what that means?
Yeah, so, a beta reader is, typically someone who will read your stories before they become mainstream, and to
Mhm.
give you like some insight on, how the story is going to be received. I met someone at the Smut Lovers Conference back in September who said,
Wait a minute, a smut lovers conference?
I knew he was gonna catch that.
You know that wasn't gonna get by. Leslie, there is a hashtag smut lovers conference.
Hashtag Smut Lovers Conference. Hashtag Smut Lovers Community. Hashtag Nikki Rome, who is the organizer of the Smut Lovers Conference.
Come on now. Things we didn't know existed in the world.
I'm telling you. See, I'm
I'm
in my little world over here. See,
saying. I knew I had to talk to you. I just didn't know why.
but I met someone at that. Let me go back to my thoughts. So I met someone at the Smut Lovers Conference who said that, I was like, wow, that's so, I need to start doing that. She has like 3 beta readers and she has like a rule of
Mm,
2. So like if 2 people say the same thing, then she'll look at it. But if it's
mhm,
like one person that says something, it's like, okay, maybe not. But if 2 out
mhm,
of the 3 of them kind of say the same thing, then it's like, oh, it's time to go back and kind of revisit that work a little bit. And so that's
mhm,
really the importance of having, a beta reader. A sensitivity reader is more for making sure that, if you're writing about a specific, group, theme,
mhm.
genre, ethnic group,
Yeah,
you want to
yeah,
make sure that someone within that group,
yeah.
um, can read your work and, kind of give you feedback on how authentic, uh,
Mhm.
and how real it is, because you don't want to be offensive. You know what I mean?
That's
You
right.
don't want to be, you don't want to be tropey. You
Yes,
don't want to be stereotypical. You
yes.
and so that's kind of more what a sensitivity reader will do. They kind of
Mhm.
help out of you and make sure that your work is, more authentic.
So you mentioned that you primarily focus on males,
Hmm.
homosexual males.
Hmm.
how did you choose that as your
Everybody asked me
signature
that.
topic? Yeah, of course.
And the thing is, it's not that I primarily focus, but these are the stories that are just out right now. Like I focus
Yes.
on erotica in general. So
Hmm.
I have other stories that are, male and female, but they're
Hmm.
not out there yet. So
Okay.
when I started working with Four Horsemen, it was Connor's story that came out, and so that's
Hmm.
where, like, I feel like I'm pigeonholed into this, which I don't mind, like,
Hmm.
but it's so the truth is I don't really know. Like the
Yeah.
stories are in my head,
I was
and
gonna say they
bounce
just come to you. Do they feel
and
like they're just downloaded?
it just does,
Hmm.
bittersweet Irish cream. I said to someone before, I said, I literally just kind of dreamed that story of Jack and Ethan. Like I woke up one day and it
Hmm.
was just like there in my head. And I was just like, I'm just going to start writing it down, and it
Hmm.
just became this other thing. So, um,
Hmm.
for me, it really kind of depends on what the story is. Right now, I have I'm trying my hand at a paranormal romance story.
Okay.
Werewolves. It is male and female. That
Uh-huh.
story should be coming out soon. People are gonna be like, how did you get from Jerry's heart to all the way over here? Um, but I'm always trying to expand into something, something different. After I went to the Smut Lovers Conference, I now have started putting pen to paper on a BDSM story. Please nobody ask me what BDSM means right now, but I started putting pen to paper on a BDSM story that's also
They can
um,
Google it.
they can Google it, male and female, and so that story's going to be out soon. So
Hmm.
yeah.
For some reason,
I like spicy stories. I just do. I like to read spicy stories. I like to write spicy
uh-huh.
stories.
Hmm. That's that Sierra Leone part in you with that
That might
African
be.
spice.
I
That's
mean,
what it is. Oh, right. Well, you know what? I like the fact that you said, right, expand yourself. Because as an author, and as in most things, you can find yourself pigeonholed. And again, to your point, if that's your lane and you want to stay in that lane, absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I personally love the expansion that I hear in you as you're saying, I'm going to try. It doesn't hurt to give it a try. Let's see. And let's see what opens up in your creative bag
yeah,
when it comes to that.
yeah. I'm all
So,
about that.
yes. Yes. So now, and the other thing, clinician to clinician. So, I'm a doctor of clinical psychology. You're a social worker. Relationship stuff is relationship stuff. Sexual
Right.
orientation is just one aspect within a relationship,
That's
but
right.
relationship dynamics run across the board. All right.
Exactly.
So in your writing, and let's talk about Jerry's heart. What is this story about?
Yeah. So the other thing that I do like to focus on is interracial stories as well.
Okay.
Again, showing so whether they're two men or a man and a woman or a woman and a woman, I feel that it when there are two people coming together, there is a humanness that is there, and so that's what I like to show in my stories.
Hmm.
Jerry's Heart, they are an interracial couple as well, but it is about two men that have found themselves in a situation where they had their lives, right. They were both married to separate people. They both have kids, and then their partners had passed away, and so they're older. One is 35, the other one I think is like 45, um,
Hmm.
and they meet
So
at a
you
Greek.
said older. I'm up here thinking like 60,
No, well,
50 or 60. Okay.
I say that because most of my characters, they're in like their 20s, like early
Okay,
20s.
got you.
And so when I
Okay.
say older, and listen, I just turned 42 2 days ago. So
Okay.
listen,
That's right.
I'm
Happy
in the prime of my life right
birthday.
now. So
Yes. Yes. Y'all wish
um,
her a happy birthday in the
thank
chat. Happy belated.
you.
You're welcome.
Hashtag birthday
Happy
girl.
birthday. That's right. There you go.
Right. So they are they're two men who just meet at a grief group, and
Hmm.
they become friends because
Hmm.
they're sharing the things that they had in common. And, they really good friends. Their kids become really good friends with each other. They're around the same age. And so, somewhere along the way, they fall in love. And then they're trying to figure out, like, how do we do this again? Can we do this again? Can I love again after losing the love of my life? That kind of thing. And so that's really the crux of Jerry's Heart. And that's a human story.
It sure is. I have so many questions already about Jerry's Heart. For those who are listening, if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. We will get to as many as we can. Yes, there we go. Another. Who does your covers?
Yeah, so actually Jerry's Heart and A Love for Micah, I self-published. So I still have my stories that are coming through Four Horsemen Publications. Those are newer stories that are coming out. Jerry's Heart and A Love for Micah were both originally on Erotica. And so because of that, I decided to self-publish those two particular books. And so for both covers, I used just I want to say local, but I feel like they're not local, but they're just called how about I just drew a complete blank on the name? Give me 1 second.
That's all right. We got Regina Goodrich said, "Happy birthday to
you." They're called Central Covers. So if you go to like centralcovers.net,
okay,
in my covers. So
y'all, she is dropping all types of places. Y'all better come on and catch all of this. All right.
They did a really good job, and I'm really happy with the way it came out.
And so let's walk through this process. So you get a story downloaded into you. You start the writing process. You have your beta testers, you have your sensitivity testers, and then do you see a cover in your head during this process?
I do see a cover, but what I see and then what ends up being the final product is not always one and the same. But I work really closely with like my publishers to just kind of make sure that the vision of the covers is what I'm looking for as well. For example, I have a new series that's starting in January called the series is the Ryan D. Writer series, but the premise is two men meet on a plane, right? And so I had a lot of ideas about the way that I wanted it to go, and they had some ideas about the way they wanted it to go, and then we finally settled on the cover that we both kind of like. So it's out there now. If you guys want to pre-order it, it's on Amazon and Apple Books and Google Books and Kobe and wherever else you can. Wherever books are sold is where you can get my books. And I don't know if people know that. Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know. Tell me this, so from start to finish, generally, how long is it taking you to do a book?
Oh, gosh. So for example, that story that's coming out in January 2024, I wrote in March of 2021. And I submitted it to my publishers. Was it this year? It might have been this year. Yeah. I mean, it takes a while because there's a lot that happens, right? So if you're working with a publisher, it's they're looking through it. You have to look through it first to make sure that you got everything you need in there. You're looking through it for editing and things like that. It has to go through typeset. It has to go through covers. It's just so many things that happen in between, and then it gets the schedule. So do I want my books to come out tomorrow? Sure, but I understand that there's just simply a process to the way things are going.
And I think that's so important because a lot of times people aren't sure how long it actually takes. And and then finding all of the right pieces. So I know for me with The Adventures of Froggy T and Bunny, it started as a poem to a friend for their birthday. I just wanted to do something other than buy a birthday card.
Right.
And in 2008, I wrote this poem, and the more I kept looking at it, it was like, if you flesh that out, that'll be a really good children's story, right? So then I gave them their birthday poem, but then I fleshed out the rest of it.
Mhm.
And then it took me 12 years to find an
Wow.
illustrator.
Yeah. Well, and so to that point, you know, I wrote Hidden Love 2019, 2020-ish, but I was afraid to kind of put it out there. Like I had put it out to a couple
Mm.
of different publishers in the beginning, and I kept
Mhm.
getting, you know, and that's the other thing, y'all, like you're going to put it out to people and other publishers, and they're going to reject it because that's part of that process, just so you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so it was rejected like 2 or 3 different times. Someone told me it was too big because technically book 1 and book 2 were together, and it was literally
Mhm.
130,000 words.
Mm.
And
Mm.
it was too big, and so then I split it up, and then I had to like move things around, and you know I got rejected 3 times before Four Horsemen said gave me a chance,
Mhm.
you know, and I will
Mhm.
always be grateful to them for just, you
Mhm.
know, giving me that opportunity. But that's the other thing, just kind of putting your work out there. You know, it takes time for people to, you know, really see, and sometimes it is about knowing who you
Yeah.
know, be a part of writing groups, be a part of like writing organizations, like, you know, get
Mhm.
to know, go to conferences and meet
Mhm.
other authors and writers. I mean, one of the things that I loved about the Smut Lovers Conference is that it wasn't just a like a book event. Like it was other writers that were there and other authors and other publishers that were there that, you know, you just
Mhm.
kind of mingle and network in and, you know, get to know other people. And so that's super important as well. I mean,
Mhm. Mhm.
part of why I still write on Literotica is because, you know, and again, the stories are out there for free. And the reason why I do that is because for me, it's important to continue to build that community and build that networking and, you know, have
Mhm.
people find me
Mhm. Mhm.
free stuff, then maybe you go buy my, buy my
That's
book.
right.
So all of those pieces are important. And so, you know, I know people make it seem like, oh, I'll just like put something out on, you know, Amazon Kindle and it's going to start making me money. And that might be the case, and it might not.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
it might be
Mhm.
lingering out because no one has found you yet. And so it's about
Exactly.
getting yourself out there and getting your name out there and meeting people. So
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
important too.
Thank you so much. And for those listening, I did put her link in the chat room. It will also be available after during the replay. As you're listening to this, please be sure to check out her website, get some of her books, share the link with friends, family, followers, fans, everybody. We are in the holiday season where people are buying gifts. A book is a wonderful gift to give people. You know, you got some smutty people out there that want some of this steamy stuff. Let
I have to say this one super funny story. So when I was at I feel like it was at Collingswood, but I was at one of these conferences or book events, and you know, a woman had walked up, and I always start with, you know, do you read LGBTQ romance? Do you read,
Mhm.
you know, erotic romance? Because, you know, I don't want someone walking up to my table and not knowing what I'm doing here, right?
That's right. That's
And
right.
she says to me, I don't, but my daughter does, right? And so, and then she starts to get like texting her daughter, like showing her the covers. And all I'm thinking is, I have a daughter, and I'm thinking to myself, and I know, listen, I know her daughter is probably like 35. It doesn't matter. I'm saying to myself, like, I could not imagine
Yo, mama.
finding one of these books. Oh gosh.
I'll
Whew.
be like, thanks, mom. I'm like,
Right?
oh,
Like,
thanks.
I say all that to say, you know your people, like you know who your people, you know who your
That's
cousins are,
right.
who your kids are, like you
That's
know the
right.
kind of stuff that they read. And so if they're interested in any kind of this work, then sure,
Mhm.
I'm your girl.
Mhm. Now, now for you, did you read? Do you remember when like the big thing came on the scene with Elin Harris
Oh
and
yeah.
his writing? And do you remember at all feeling like a tinge or like that's gonna be me or that's my genre? Do you remember
It's
experiencing anything?
it's funny because I read all of Elin Harris books. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
I like erotica was kind of what I was reading. So I was reading Elin Harris, I was reading Zane, I was reading Eric Jerome Dickey.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was
Mm-hmm.
reading,
Mm-hmm.
all of these books
Yes.
growing up as a teenager, and so I always knew that that's what I liked. Did I know
Mm-hmm.
that that's the path that I was going to start writing? Not
Mm-hmm.
then.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it all came full circle. It makes sense to me now,
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
right?
What have you, and even now, are you when you read what other people write, do you notice any type of influence in your writing style or in the stories that you're willing now to explore in your writing?
Yeah, I mean, I think, that's how I started saying to myself, well, let me try my hand at this paranormal, romance,
Mm,
because I've
mhm,
been reading a
mhm.
lot of, paranormal romance and saying to myself, like, I think I can do
I
that.
can do this.
I've also started reading a lot of dark romance. I don't know if any of you
No,
read.
what does that mean?
So it's romance. It just
Mhm.
it just means, well, what I'm saying is, like, there is a love story in the story,
Got
but
it.
there's always some kind of murder and mayhem going on. And
Okay, got
so
you.
with the first story I wrote, Bittersweet Irish Cream, it gets dark.
Mhm.
Jack has Jack has some demons and
Okay.
exercises those demons, and I was gonna say it like that. And so it gets
Mhm.
dark, and that's probably like the closest I came to like really writing, any kind of dark romance. And I always said to myself, I don't know if I want to continue doing that. But then I
Mhm.
end up there are some pieces in Hidden Love that gets a little dark too. But I
Mhm.
started writing stories that kind of like full dark romance, like Gary Michael,
Mhm.
his books. Nikki Rome has a couple of dark romance books that I love.
Mhm.
Bauer, he has some dark romance books that I love. So, I started reading a little bit of that, and I don't know, maybe in a couple of years I'll
Mhm.
do a mafia story.
Yeah.
you know, I'll do a serial killer story that just got a little bit of kick to it. I don't know, maybe because that's what I've been reading lately, and so.
Right, right. Uh, it's so interesting. So my mother, she was a reading specialist, an avid reader, and so in her older age, unfortunately, she had a couple strokes, so she's not able to read like she used to. But
Mhm.
a couple weeks ago, my cousin started her on audiobooks.
I was just gonna say, is she doing audiobooks? Yes.
She is devouring
Hmm.
audiobooks.
I'm
And
sure.
whereas she would be, watching television and napping a lot through the day, she's not napping anymore. We put on novellas, we put on
Love
novel,
it.
and this past week it has been I want mysteries.
I
And
love it.
so it's like, okay, so she's listening to one now. I have her on camera where I
Hmm.
keep because I care for her 24/7.
Gotcha.
And so she's listening to her first one for today. This one's 8 hours. Yesterday, she had about three, 2.5, 3 hour ones. I mean,
Right.
she just eats them up.
Yeah.
So,
That's amazing.
audio books for you. What's
Yeah.
going on?
So, Hidden Love is on audio.
Okay.
Um, I have a good friend of mine. So, if anyone has followed me before, when I did the premiere or the launch party of Hidden Love, I went
Mhm.
live and I had two of my very good friends um, basically act out,
Yes.
chapter three.
Yes.
And David Morton is just like an up and coming actor, just an amazing person in general. And
Hmm.
after he, when my Four Horsemen came to me and said, "Hey, we're looking to do some voices for audio," they had a couple of people that they were considering, and I was like, "Huh, David, what do you think about being, doing my audio book?" And
Yes.
um, so his voice, I feel, is perfect for when I hear
Hmm. Yes.
Connor in my head. That's the voice I hear. Like, even
Okay.
like the inflections in his voice when he's like, "Are you
Hmm.
serious right now?" Like, it's like it's
It's
so,
him.
to me, it's so perfect.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, so Hidden Love is an audiobook. Yes, yes, yes.
Hmm.
I don't have my other books on audiobook yet, but that doesn't mean it won't happen. It just means that
Hmm.
we didn't get that far.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's interesting. When I started, well, actually, when I did The Greatest Soul Journey, I did do it on audiobook as well because I was thinking about people driving. I was thinking
Yes.
about, impairments, visual impairments and so forth. So I wanted to make sure that's the teacher in me. I'm a
Yeah.
former early childhood elementary teacher. I want to make sure I'm differentiating for everybody.
Hmm.
So then when I did the Adventures of Froggy T and Bunny, it was the same thing. It was like, all right, let me make sure it's in print. Let me make sure it's an ebook. Let me
Hmm.
make sure there's a digital audio book so I can teach inflection and
Yeah.
pacing and timing
Yeah.
and rhythm and all of that because all of the books are lyrical in nature. I wanted to make sure that was there. I hadn't thought about the older population, such as my mother, who
Hmm.
is someone who loves to read but
Hmm.
can't read anymore.
Yeah.
But this is a way to give them that. And so when I asked her yesterday, I said, Mom, I said, what is it about it that you enjoy so much? She said, I enjoy visualizing what they're saying.
Yeah.
I can imagine it. And so it's a way to direct the mind. And I said, well, tell me about the voices. She said, the voices have been really good so far. And
Yeah.
I can tell the ones that she likes because she doesn't go to sleep. And
Mm.
then there's some where it's very monotone
Hmm.
and she'll find herself dipping off, or if I ask her about it, she doesn't.
Right.
So now,
Yeah.
with that being said, are you open? Will you do auditions? Will the publishing company find people and then you determine whether or not they have the right voice that you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, yes. I mean, they find people and they'll determine that if they have the right voice for it. Again,
Hmm.
Jerry's Heart is self-published, so it's not on the same level of Four Horsemen. So
Yeah.
hashtag if anybody wants to do my audio book for Jerry's Heart, let me know. Um, Definitely has to be a male voice. I can do it.
Okay.
It's not going to be the same feel when I read it.
Hmm.
I'm telling you right
Hmm.
now. But yeah, I mean, I definitely, so yeah, so I get the say on, like, how the story, how the voice, and whether
Yes.
that makes sense
Yes.
for this particular story.
Okay.
Connor's story is first person narrative, and so it
Hmm.
has to be his voice because it has to be like his internal thoughts, and
Yes.
that
Yes.
makes a difference because he says a lot of things internally that he doesn't say
Hmm.
out loud that has to
Right.
make sense
Yes.
when you read it.
Yes.
So so that's why, like, that's super important to me to make sure that
Hmm.
it's flowing the way that it would.
Hmm.
And I'm a visual person as well, so for me, um, if I see it in my head, obviously you're not going to
Hmm.
see it in your head the same way that I see it in my head, but
Hmm.
I want you to be able to see at least part of what I see when these
Yes.
people are doing things and saying things. You know what I mean?
Yes.
If they're walking down the street, holding hands, having this conversation about, how much, one character has grown as a person and come into
Hmm.
his, not just with his
Hmm.
sexual identity, but just his identity in general and being a leader
Hmm.
like that.
Hmm.
I want you to be able to, like, you close your eyes and you hear those voices and you can visualize that and
Hmm.
you feel yourself being right there with it. Like that's important to me. So
Hmm. Hmm. So, with that being said, any transition into film, web series?
so interestingly, if since we're going back to Jerry's Heart, I've had
Hmm.
so many people say, why isn't this a movie? Like, why hasn't
Hmm.
Netflix picked this up yet? Netflix, if you're listening. Because it's such a poignant, just story about just kind of grief and love and
Hmm.
family,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
you know um I personally, I would love it if someone picked up
Okay.
any of my books, but that book in particular. um but yes, I would love to, like, I would have to find like a screenwriter. That's a whole different genre. Like, you'd
It
have to find
is.
a screenwriter.
Hmm.
Like, market to the right group of people. And
Hmm.
again, it's about who you know. So,
Hmm.
and I don't
Hmm.
know that many people in the, in the
Oh,
movie,
oh,
and television and film just yet.
but you're interested,
Oh
which is
yeah, oh yeah,
okay.
definitely.
Okay, so these are conversations. So, this will be on replay. I've had a lot of people even hit me up today saying I'm in a meeting right now, but I'm gonna catch the replay, and their word is good.
Yeah,
So, from people who do voiceovers to people who are connected, in different industries to indie artists who are doing film, their own film work and screenwriters
Yeah.
and so forth. So, with all that being said, now, where do people follow you? How do
I
people
was
get
just
in
gonna
contact with
say,
you?
as you're saying, I was just gonna say, listen, anybody can email me anytime. Just it's my name is sk.kabba@gmail.com. Anyone can
Okay.
email me anytime. I have people emailing me, tell me about my books, like, oh my God, I love this part. Oh my God, I can't stand Connor. Like, I love it. Like, give me your feedback because
Mm-hmm.
I love to hear it. And I if you email me, I will email you back. Like I always engage with like my peoples. Just call them my peoples.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So ESKAY.KABBA, and what's the rest of it?
At gmail.com.
Okay.
And then, like you said, you can always go to my website. Same thing, www.skkabba, all one word, all
Mm-hmm.
together, .com.
Okay. All right. So we now know Jerry's heart. We know. Come on, give us the title so we know what we're looking
Okay,
for.
so it's Jerry's heart because that's what we
Mm-hmm.
focused on today. I'm trying to.
Yes.
The reason why I keep focusing on Jerry's heart because I'm just saying, out of all my books, this
Yes.
probably has the least amount of smut. I mean, it's there, but it's probably
Uh-huh.
the least amount of smut. Uh,
Okay.
the love for Micah has the most amount of smut. I'm just
Okay.
saying.
I like the smut continuum.
It is.
Hashtag smut continuum. We
Hashtag
got it.
continuum. This has the most amount of smut, just because it's just, if
Mm-hmm.
you once you get to know Micah, then you'll understand why. And that's probably why that's the cover that has the guys with the most clothes on. Because when you
Yes.
read it, you don't know until you get in there. You're like, oh, okay, I see what's going over here. So right, so it's Love for Micah. It's Sherry's Heart. I only picked up the first book of Hidden Love, but it's a 5-book series. I always say start
Mm-hmm.
with book one, and then if you want to continue their stories, like thank you, JoJo. If you want to continue their stories, then you can continue reading. And trust me, you're gonna want to know what happens with Connor. You're gonna want to know
Mm-hmm.
how him and
Okay.
Janelle get together. And then I have some other stories that I'm throwing out there. Bittersweet Irish Cream. It's still on Literotica, but I moved it to Google Play Books. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the first part of that series is still free because
Mm-hmm.
why not? I want to make sure that people can kind of grab that story, but then the other ones are like, I don't know, $1.99 or something like that. If anyone wants to support me, if you don't and just want to read the story itself, you can just go on Literotica. Either way, it's fine by me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a couple of short stories that are out there. Catch and Don't Release, that's another short story that I have out there for free.
Mm-hmm.
I just did a karaoke 2023 event on Literotica. And that's just authors coming together and picking a song and doing a story off that song. And so I chose Crash Into Me by Dave Matthews Band. Shout out. I'm also a huge alternative rock 90s girl, just so you know. So if
Mm-hmm.
y'all don't know who Dave Matthews is, you'll find out. Uh, that was so I did that story, and that's getting like I just did that like a month ago, and it's getting like really good reviews for that
Okay.
as well. So yeah, I mean, I got free stuff out there. I got books out there. The
Give
next
us the retail for your books. How much are they going for?
the books themselves, they're all paperbacks. They're all just $20,
Okay.
19.99.
Okay.
The ebooks are $5.99, $6.99, something like
Mm-hmm.
that. Like I said, the
Mm-hmm.
Google books are like $1.99,
Okay.
something like that. So not too bad,
No, not at
not
all.
too bad at all.
Not at all. And I think it's important, obviously that you have created opportunities, as you were mentioning, to grow your followers, for people to understand who you are as a writer, to get the taste, to get the sample of it, and then also to know that you have provided the continuum. So it's a nice bridge into Smuttyville. It's
It
not a
is.
right. It's not an automatic deep dive
It's not.
into it.
It's not. You can decide on what level of heat that you want.
Yes.
I mean,
Oh,
I
I
got a
like
story
that.
out there called a very what is it called? A very smutty Christmas holiday or something like that, and that's just
It's all the
way.
way.
That's all the way.
Okay. Now, are there any rankings, which is interesting? I know, from a movie standpoint, we would say PG, PG-13, and so forth. Do
Yeah.
you do any rankings like on your website so people know how far this goes?
I probably should. I mean, as soon as you open up my webpage, you'll see it says Steamy Romance
Mm-hmm.
writer, and I think people typically know when I say steamy or erotic, people typically know
Mm-hmm.
what I
Yeah.
say. If you go onto my link tree, because I do also have a link tree,
Okay, good to
it
know.
has the whole screen that comes up if you're 18 or 18 and older, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. My books that are self-published, when you go on Google, it'll tell you like this is for mature audience only, things like that.
Good.
When you read my books, they have trigger warnings in them. I mean, obviously
Okay.
not Jerry part. There's nothing triggering in there other than, sexual content. But,
Mm-hmm.
if you pick up Bittersweet Irish Cream, or definitely if you pick up, Hidden Love, there is racism and sexism
Mm-hmm.
and homophobia and,
Mm-hmm.
kind of a lot of, and abuse,
Mm-hmm.
violence, and that's domestic violence is happening there. So,
Mm-hmm.
I do trigger warnings, or content warnings, I should say, in my books,
Mm-hmm.
for people to know what they're getting themselves into before they, yeah. So, yeah. So just reading Jamila's comment,
Mm-hmm.
if you're nervous about how it's going to be received, then just do a content warning and just say, like, right from the beginning, so people know, what it is going to have some level of, explicit sexual content in there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but again, it's also about finding your people, because I am
Mm-hmm.
telling you, you are part of my people, and we are out there. I just told you there's a whole conference called Smut Lovers. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing Hot and Steamy in Portland next year. Okay.
Mm.
There is a Sultry in the City. I mean, these are our peoples.
I know my listeners are like, what? Where
we
is
are
this?
we are out there, and as long as if you find your people, it's going to be received just fine.
Yeah.
The truth
Yeah.
is, if people that are not into sexual content in stories are just not going to read your stuff, and that's okay.
Mhm,
I
mhm,
wouldn't
mhm,
want you to,
mhm,
because it's not going to
mhm.
be a good time for you.
That's it. That's it. I love it. I love it. All right. I know we're coming close to
We
time.
are.
And of course, I would love to have you back on the show if you're willing to join us at another
Anytime.
time. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I would love for you just real quick. And like I said, we can talk about it later. But you've talked about traditional publishing, but you also kept a foot in independent publishing.
Yep.
Why both? We can talk about the difference another time unless you want to give people something, but why both?
Yeah. So, again, I like having a publishing company with me.
Mhm.
First of all, you can't just choose everybody. I personally feel like my publishing company is like family. I mean, I've been talking with these people for like 2 years, and the first time we've seen each other in person was at the Smut Lovers Conference, and you would have thought
Oh,
we were
wow.
hanging forever, just
Right.
kind of that we were just kind of hanging around each other. And so, for me, having the right publishing company that supports your work, that's going to promote your work, that's going to understand your readers, right? Because again,
Mhm,
as we're talking about, you have to find your readers and
mhm,
in your genre. And so having the right publishing company that understands your work, and not just out there just to like, well, let me just take my cut and then that's it. Like, no, they really
mhm.
want you to succeed, because when you
Yeah,
succeed, they succeed. And
that's
that's how
right.
they look at it. And
That's
so
right.
that's why that's important to me. Um,
Mhm,
the I like having just a foot in indie publishing in general, because I just kind of feel like there's just some things that I just want to kind of keep out there for myself.
yeah.
Um, nothing wrong with having a publisher, but
Mhm,
I also understand that someone gave me that opportunity by
mhm,
introducing me to this publishing company, and if that didn't happen,
mhm,
there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, I need a publisher. And I guess I keep my foot in to show not necessarily, I
mhm,
Ingram Spark. I appreciate, how I'm able to navigate their website and
mhm,
read my
mhm.
book, get my stuff up there, things like that. And so for me, that's important as well, to show that you can be an independent publisher and still be successful, you know?
Yes,
So
yes. Very good. Very good.
It
All
was a
right, let's
journey.
tell. I know we're getting ready to come up. Let's tell people again where they can follow you, what social media platforms, where and how they can purchase your books, and
Yeah.
price points.
Absolutely. So yeah, so I am Eskay Kabba. You can visit me on my website, same name at www.skkabba.com. You can email me at any time, sk.kabba@gmail.com. I am on all social media platforms. I literally just got on TikTok like 5 minutes ago. There's nothing there for me. But I'm gonna start doing book reviews, not my books, but other books on TikTok. So that's the
Mm-hmm.
platform I'm gonna use TikTok for. Other
Mm-hmm.
than that, I promote my own stuff on my Facebook page, still Eskay Kabba, my Instagram page, still at Eskay Kabba. Like that's just my Twitter, which is now Meta, or not Meta, sorry, it's X now. I don't know.
X.
To
Mm-hmm.
be perfectly honest, Twitter is not where I go the most. To
Mm-hmm.
catch me on IG.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just always on IG. I like
Okay.
supporting other authors. I like supporting myself on IG. I like being
Mm-hmm.
funny on IG. So that's my main social
That's your
media
main one.
platform. But you can catch me on really on anything except
Okay.
TikTok because, like I said.
Got it. And what do you have coming up? Any events where people, if they want to come get a book signed, if
Yes,
they want to
actually,
buy
so
personally?
this, I don't know if anyone's in the Philadelphia area, but if you are, this Sunday, I'm going to be at Book Fest,
Mm-hmm.
Chapter 2. That's at Solace Farms Retreat. I think it's in Chester Springs, Pennsylvania. Um,
Okay.
that information is on my website and it's on my social media. The next event I'll be at is a Polycon. I think some people are more familiar with that. That's a huge book, just a book fest.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be in April. I'm going to be in a Polycon in April. I'm going to be at Hot and what did I say? What is it called? Hot and
Was it
Steamy.
hot and steamy? Yes.
Hot and Steamy in Portland. I'll be there. That's at the end of May. Actually, if you join my newsletter, you can go on my website, just scroll a little bit to the bottom and just kind of put your name in there and join my newsletter. First thing you get is you get sneak peeks. I throw out information for books that are coming out that people
Mm-hmm.
won't know about for at least another 6
Mm-hmm.
months to a year. I throw out chapters of the stories that are coming out. First dibs. You guys get all that. But I also
Mm-hmm.
let you know what events that I'll be at. So at my next newsletter, I do it once a month. I'm going to throw out all the different events that I'll be at in all of 2025. I think like 5 or 6 of them. Oh, I'm going to be at Literary Love, Savannah. I'm going to be at
Mm.
in August, so that's going to be fun. Oh, and I'm doing Authors in Still City in Pittsburgh too. Yeah,
You are
2020
all around.
for me.
Come on. You
Yeah,
are
I got
bringing it.
all these books.
I'm saying. She is seeing me all over the place. She's
Yes,
taking that
yes.
flyer across the
I
world.
am. And again, it's not just about like just, people obviously come buy my books, but it's also about just like meeting people. Like I just
Yeah.
adore just meeting other writers and authors and having these conversations. So I'm
Yes.
gonna stop
Yes.
talking. We already at the hour. I can do
Look,
this
we
all
got, well, look, Shay is saying, let's go.
Let's
Look.
go.
Well, y'all, this is exactly how she was in person. I
I am the
encourage
same
you.
way
Yes,
all the
that's why
time.
I knew. I was like, oh, we gonna have a good time today. And you done already heard we gonna have her back on the show.
Yes.
Please be sure to support her. At least sign up for the email, the newsletters.
Yes,
But definitely check her out. Check out her writing. Buy her books. Like we said, you know your people. You know who be interested. Yes, show those covers again. There's Jerry's Heart, the continuum of Steamy, and then we get to Hidden Love. Come on, come on. Where's Micah? Uh-huh.
definitely.
Looking like Prince on that cover. Come on.
Damn it. You know I'm 80s, baby, because you said the
Look,
right thing.
okay, look, come on, y'all. So be sure to check her out. Also, be sure to watch this replay, okay? Because she drops a lot of different names and resources. Be sure to share it with others. Jamila says she is so excited. Thank you so much for sharing with her and encouraging her.
Yes, definitely.
Leslie says this was great.
Oh,
I'm so
wonderful.
glad. My takeaway for today is that there is the see now I done forgot it. That's how it went. What is it? Steamy sultry. I'm making up my own conference. What's it called? The smutty
Smutty,
conference.
smutty. You
Smutty.
talking about
Smutty.
smutty?
Right, right.
Everything smutty.
There's just some words that just make you laugh, and that's one of
Oh
them for me.
God.
All right, y'all. Be sure to join us again. For those that don't know, so I'll be doing my other podcast today where I slide into my flowering fashionista.
Ooh, I'm
Yes.
tuning in for that.
Okay, come on in for that with Miss Gwen
Yes.
DeVoe, who is the mother, MUVA, the mother of full figure fashion. She actually
Oh,
started Full Figure Fashion Week in New York back in the 80s.
I love it.
And so
I
I'll
love
be
it.
talking with her at 6 o'clock today. So if you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, be sure to subscribe. I have so many things popping up this month. But right now, we just want to celebrate Eskay Kabba. Say your last name for me so I'm saying it right.
Eskay Kabba.
Kabba. Kabba. So please be sure to support her. Buy some books. All right. Get into some smut for a little bit. You can stay away from the dark side of the smut. You can stay on the light, smutty
Stay
side
on
of
the
things.
light
It's all
side.
good and
Yeah.
fun. That's right.
Happily ever after. Do that.
There we go. There we go. All right, y'all. I'll see you later. Thank you, SK, and I'll
Thank
talk with
you
you
so
soon.
much. Thank you,
All
everybody, for
right.
tuning
You're
in.
welcome. All
Awesome.
right. Be well. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.